Good evening, everyone, and thank you for coming. I'd like to we have the Village of Holly Planning Commission meeting for October 26, 2022. If we could all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Roll call, please.
Ted Clark.
Here.
Christian. Lacey.
Here.
Steele. Jim Clark.
Here.
Campbell.
Here.
DeSessa.
Here.
Kinnaman.
Here.
Okonski.
Here. Has anyone heard from Galen?
Yes, he's messaged me. He has had a family emergency.
All right, could we have a motion to excuse Galen, please?
So move.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, so excused. Approval of the minutes for October 26, 2022. Or the agenda, sorry.
What did he say?
I said minutes, I left the line down.
I motion to approve the agenda for tonight.
I'll second.
You got a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the agenda is approved. All right, moving on to approval of the minutes from September 28th, 2022.
Make a motion to approve the minutes as written.
Support.
We have motion support. All in favor of approving the minutes?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, minutes are approved for September 28th, 2022. Could I get a volunteer to read the statement of purpose?
I'll volunteer.
Thank you.
The mission of the Holly Village government is to enhance our community's quality of life. Our organization strives for quality services, responsive action to citizen requests, and a cost-effective government. We promote citizen participation, proactive decision-making, and environmental quality. Most importantly, we shall always serve the citizens of Holly. The Village of Holly will be a prestigious historical village that is a green residential oasis from the city and the center of commerce and activity for the region.
Thank you. All right, moving on to public comments. If anyone that is in the audience would like to get up and speak in front of the microphone, stating your name and address about anything that is not on the agenda, please do so at this time. Seeing no one move forward, we'll move on to public hearing. Could I have a motion to open public hearing?
Make a motion to open the public hearing for site plan review of property at 315 Grange Hall Road, item number IH0128427-013.
3518.
What did I say?
Sound like you said 315.
Oh.
Well, support.
3518.
All right, roll call, please.
DeSessa.
Yes.
Jim Clark.
Yes.
Lacey.
Yes.
Kinnaman.
Yes.
Campbell.
Yes.
Ted Clark.
Yes.
Okonski.
Yes. Public hearing is now open. Okay, it's for consideration of the site plan. Is there anyone in the public that would like to get up and make any comments regarding the items before us for that item?
I'm the engineer, I defer to the developers.
Well, yeah, and this is more for the public, if there's anybody that is an objection or anything like
Oh, I
that.
see.
Your time will come in new business. Seeing no one move forward on that agenda item,
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
now we have another item on the public hearing.
Oh, we do, don't we? Sorry about that.
Now we're going to have a public hearing regarding the consideration of special land use permit for located at 304 South Broad Street, Holly, Michigan, IH 0134 308006. If there's anyone that would like to get up and speak regarding that item regarding public hearing for the special use permit.
Yeah.
Seeing no one move forward, could I have a motion to close public hearing?
Motion to close public hearing.
I'll support.
All right, roll call, please.
Campbell,
Yes.
Ted Clark,
Yes.
Jim Clark,
Yes.
Kitteman,
Yes.
DeSessa,
Yes.
Lacy,
Yes.
Okansky.
Yes.
I'd like to make a note that I only mentioned the one property. If we could strike the property from the minutes.
And just leave it as open public hearing.
Yeah.
Okay. If you could do that, please. Thank you. All right, moving on to item number 8, old business, which there is none listed. Going right on to item number 9, new business. New business, first consideration is item A, 2022-011, consideration for a site plan review for the property located at 3518 Grange Hall Road, Holly, Michigan, property ID IH 0128427013. At this time, if Rowe Engineering could get up and
So there's very few comments this time around. The applicant worked pretty closely with village staff and myself in order to meet all the requirements of the ordinance. So there's only a very few outstanding issues. In terms of informational items, everything was provided on the site plans. In terms of zoning compliance, Article 157.009 Schedule of Regulations. The schedule on the site plan should be revised to include the actual setbacks and correct ordinance requirements. This is outstanding on sheet C3 and C4. In terms of exterior lighting, the proposed light pole height is 20 feet. The requirement in the district is 12 feet, but the planning commission has the authority to waive that and go up to 20 feet when the building is, you can go up to as tall as the height of the main structure on the property, which in this case is 21 feet. So if you're going to approve the light poles, you just have to include that in your motion. In terms of off-street parking requirements, the schedule of parking regulations lists the incorrect standard on sheet C3. For marijuana retailers, the standard is 3 spaces per 1,000 square feet of gross leasable area. This brings us to a total of 6 parking spaces. So they are good, they meet that standard, it's just that they list the incorrect standard on the actual sheet. And then required landscaping along the public right-of-way. The minimum width of green space along the right-of-way is required to be 10 feet. The proposed plan shows only 7 feet. So based on these, it's our belief that this can be approved with some minor conditions. But with that, are there any questions for me?
My main question might be the landscape one. Are we able to waive that?
So that you can't waive it. So their options are either to get a variance from the ZBA, or they can revise the plans to add 3 feet of green space.
Okay. Because I know we've had a shift in some things there in order to put the turn lane in. And so I think that might be causing some of that problem.
Gotcha. Still, the board doesn't have the authority to waive it, but the applicant
Okay.
does have those options.
So if we made a motion and included that, we would need to say subject to ZBA approval.
Yeah, if the applicant wants to go the route of
Okay.
ZBA approval. If they think they can revise the plans, that's another option.
Okay.
there was a question I had on the site plans, didn't know if you had seen it and/or if I'm misreading the plan. on C6, or 6.0, I should say. More concerning the dumpster enclosure. Okay. From my interpretation of the site plans, bottom row, second over from the right, the cutaway view is showing what is indicating to be like cinder block.
That'll be a question for the applicant.
Okay. So, and then, basically then the depiction all the way over to the left of the same bottom row, physically calls it out as 6-foot-high vinyl private fence.
Yep.
Just,
So you want to know which material?
I want to know what their intent really is, because the drawing doesn't match each other.
It's a question for the applicant.
Okay. No other questions for you that I'm aware of? Anybody from commissioners? No? Thank you. Okay, whoever would like to get up and speak regarding the applicant. State your name and address, please.
Dennis Benashak, 617 14th Street, Bay City, Michigan. Being the engineer on the job, any mistakes that you've discovered are mine. Looking at the zoning, I will beg off on this one because my survey department used the township zoning standards, not the village. I've corrected that since then. As far as the lighting goes, I'm going to leave that to somebody else to answer because it's outside my bailiwick. The landscape distance is short. It can be modified to fit the 10-foot requirement by pushing things back on the site, but with other things pending, as you mentioned. Depending how things lay out, we might be in a different situation where it'll already be accommodated. So as we get into more discussion on this, we'll be able to talk about that. The dumpster, yeah, that vinyl fence should not be in there. That's my bad. We will put up whatever is required to match the facade of the building as part of your requirements to make the dumpster acceptable.
Usually what ends up happening is regarding the, if it's going to go with the cinder block, there would just be a cut face stone on it.
Split face is
Split
typically
face,
what we do, yes.
And that would be fine if that's fine with the applicant.
You guys get to make the call.
Yeah, that would be fine for us to easily do that, not a problem.
Okay. Other than that, and then the few items that was mentioned earlier, I didn't see anything else that stuck out on the drawings to me. Anybody else?
What's the temporary gravel road between the Marathon and the building? It says temporary. How long will it be temporary?
Could you repeat that question? We were talking about lighting when you had asked.
Name and address, please.
Yeah, sorry, Robert Denha, address 4135 Atwood Road, Bridgeport, Michigan.
The proposed area between the Marathon station and the existing asphalt it shows on the print, it says that that's a temporary gravel area. Is that part of your property?
Well, actually.
Actually, I don't think it is.
Right here. Yeah, so that actually.
No, but this is here.
Yeah.
And this is, and that's our access to here.
Yeah, so,
So it's going to depend on when this develops.
yeah, but they could work on that. Yeah. So I don't have an exact answer for you because that's not actually on our property line, but I would presume the neighboring property would have no problem with making that improvement because when they do the redevelopment of the existing gas station, turning that gravel into asphalt now is not going to impede on any future development. If that makes sense.
If I remember correctly, our ordinance allows you to have the gravel there for 1 year. Is that correct? Yes.
I'd have to confirm, but it sounds right.
Yeah.
just FYI.
Okay.
If that is part of what you physically own in the property, even if the gas station hasn't done anything, there will be
This is the property.
that's the property line there?
I wouldn't want to see an indefinite gravel be nothing but a dust problem.
All right, so you're putting the gravel in just for your access to the dumpster then, basically, just for ease of use.
Not only, yeah, you can use space and put it in the adjustment. Yeah, that's correct.
Okay.
Mr. Watson, from what I understand, these were supposed to come as joint presentation, and the gas station is a little bit farther out time-wise, is that correct?
That is correct, yes. Loom looked forward to moving more expeditiously with the project, and Marathon is still working with the Oakland County Road Commission with that right-hand turn lane. So they have separated the two projects, looking for approval with the Loom so they can get started before the winter, while Marathon will be more like coming at us in the midwinter, looking to start in the spring.
Were you going to speak to the exterior lighting?
Actually, yes.
I guess in regards to the gravel, then, just so that we're clear, putting the stone down there for the temporary purpose, I don't see that there'll be a problem with that. However, after the grace period that's allowed, I'm sure there probably would be an extension that'd be afforded to you also. But at some point, if it just does not get addressed, then that would be an area that you'd be ceased to be able to use.
Yeah, so Anthony Denha, Kading Development, 6924 Solomon, Troy, Michigan, part of the development team. Yeah, we would certainly do anything, obviously, to mitigate or remedy that, situation. Obviously, it's kind of unique with the gas station in our development. Again, we wanted to run in parallel with them. Theirs is a more complex development. Ours is simple, cookie cutter development, so we can move a lot faster. Supply chains are kind of broken right now. I'm sure you guys are aware of that. So, the owner of the station is kind of, assessing, how that's going to look and how that's going to play into his development plans. But, overall, I think within, after our development, I would say probably within a year after our development, the Marathon Station should be well on its way to being complete.
And,
So.
like I just want to be upfront.
Yeah, of course, yeah. No, we develop in communities all over the state of Michigan. Obviously, we have a very strong reputation, so we'll work closely with Jeremy and the other fellow members of the community and do whatever, necessarily that you guys need from us to make sure everything is on the up and up.
Sounds good.
So maybe talk to, when these were going to be coming at the same time was because there was some shared things, other than like this. Can you speak to any of that to maybe help clear up the gravel issue?
You look on the site, we've got a large area here that is, really, there's nothing shown there, but it's a detention basin, rain garden. All of the rainwater from the gas station site is intended to go into that location so that we don't have any kind of sewers or anything on the site where we could have spill problems. So this is going to be their storage area so that they can contain spills and make sure everything's going to work well. And it doesn't go anywhere else underground to be an issue. It's just going to be right into the rain garden. The Loom site itself, it has pervious pavers around the perimeter, and it's going to have a 14-inch stone base. So using a rule of thumb of 30% void space, we'll be able to store the 10-year storm right in the sub base and let it perk into the sand.
I'm assuming then, in that regards, just kind of so we're kind of forewarned moving forward, then there is some type of a written agreement that you're allowing their storm runoff to run into your property.
Yeah, we have cross-access, cross-easement agreements that are being currently reviewed between our council and their council, but they're all standard, so we don't see any issues coming to an agreement on those.
Okay.
If I may, I checked on the gravel issue, so the parking area has to be surfaced within 1 year of the date of occupancy.
Right, that's what I thought, yes.
Okay.
I'll put a note on the plan.
Any other questions from anybody?
got the lighting issue.
The lighting.
So, as it relates to the lighting, I mean, we can certainly do 12 feet, or 20 feet. It's really, you know, so I guess I would defer to Corey on that one. Is there specific, requirement? Okay.
So the building height is up to 21 feet, so you have full leeway, you can permit anything between 12 and 20 feet. I believe the plans call for 20 feet, so you can approve as is, or you can require 12 feet.
Are there gonna be poles or on the building?
They're gonna be a mixture of poles.
Decorative poles.
Yeah, decorative poles.
Your photometrics are obviously based on the 21 or 20 feet, or 21 feet?
20 feet.
20 is the max,
20, correct.
even though the building's 21, our
Right.
max is 20.
So if you prefer a 12-foot pole, we can certainly revise our photometric to accommodate that, but we're currently showing 20, and, you know, prefer to move forward with 20 feet if that's sufficient for you.
Well, I think if we took that down to our 12, unfortunately, I think that would require probably more poles for your luminarias. I don't have a problem with 20 if anyone else doesn't.
I don't.
Yeah, it's just important to note too, the advancement in lighting is much different than what it used to be and how it spreads and how direct it is. It's, if you see new LED parking lot lighting versus old, it's
Right.
very different, so.
You know, because one
Looks
of my.
good and does exactly what it's supposed to do.
Right.
Yeah.
One of my concerns was the photometrics going over to your neighbor, then, you know,
Yeah,
from the, right,
Yep.
the multi-family. Naturally, we don't want that affecting them. And from what I could see on the photometrics,
Yeah.
it kind of diminished out at that point, because I'm assuming the shielding is such where it's not per se round going backwards, it's more directed.
Correct.
Plus you have the wall that will be there.
Yeah, yeah.
Masonry wall.
Yeah, masonry, yeah.
Yeah, this is the masonry wall.
Right, but the upper areas are the most
Right,
important.
second floor,
Right.
second, and I think third floor
So-
in the apartments.
So does anybody have a recommendation or suggestions there that they would like to see regarding the pole height?
20-foot works for me.
Yeah.
So leave it as it-
Perfect, thank you.
The only other issue then is the landscaping, whether you're gonna go to the ZBA or comply.
Yeah. You can read it
Wow.
Well, that's where we're gonna be.
So-
Right when the attorney comes in.
I think that would almost need to be written
I'll go with this layout.
so that, because they really won't know the space until the other
If we need to do it.
site plan gets finished with theirs, correct?
Not necessarily,
Okay.
not
So I can-
necessarily. Go ahead.
I can address that. So seeing as the gas station development is not moving in parallel with us, meaning we're gonna start soon, they're gonna probably start, you know, later, we can accommodate 10 feet now, but when the road commission comes in and we have to put in that right turn lane, that adjustment will more than likely have to come in place where it may eat up, you know, 2 to 3 feet, showing that 7-foot landscaping. So kind of a unique situation, you know, so I guess at that time, when the gas station comes in for their approvals, you know, it'll at that point show a full site plan. We'll probably have to make an adjustment to the front of our property there to accommodate for that right turn lane. If that makes sense.
I understand what you're saying, and I'm just trying to think of how to do it so it's not muddy for you, you know, kind
Yeah.
of scenario.
Yeah.
Because the way it would normally work is, without you saying that you can go to 10 feet, you'd have to go to the ZBA. If it gets changed to where it reduces that amount, you'll still have to go to the ZBA. Yes.
If I may, I answered it correctly before. So when I pulled up the section of the ordinance, it says, minimum width is 10 feet. The planning commission or zoning commission, as required, may permit the width of the green belt to be reduced in cases where existing conditions do not permit a 10-foot width. So you do have the authority to reduce it. You just have to cite a reason.
And so the 7-foot is because of the deceleration internally.
Correct. Yep. So that right turn.
Hold on a second. Let me run confirm with this.
Good.
The 7-foot was designed around a feature that was going to go out, that is going to go out in front of the building. If we need to get 10 feet there, we can push the building and everything back to get the 10 feet. There's no issue with that. It's just, grabbing the stuff and pulling it down. If the right turn lane becomes a reality, I've already got it designed so there's 10 feet available out front for that feature. So.
The way it is now?
Well,
Or
the way this was not, we were not contemplating the right turn lane.
Okay,
But I do have drawings that show it with the right turn lane, with the 10 feet. So either way, I can pull the building down so we don't have to worry about it. And if we get the right turn lane to go, it'll already be accommodated.
but if you start building before they
Well,
make a
that's what I'm saying, right?
determination.
We can't start building because we got to get ZBA approval if we don't have the 10 feet, correct?
No, we have what Corey read is that we have we hold that ability to waive that.
No, that's your call then.
I think in my opinion, from the 10 feet to the 7 feet, I think we can accommodate that.
And so the 7 feet takes into consideration the turn lane?
No, it does not.
So it
When
would
the turn,
change
when the
yet?
turn lane comes in, we're gonna be pulling that building down. Right now, we're kind of in between because we don't know how all this is gonna play out. Where the building is shown right now, if we do the right turn lane, we gotta pull everything down 10 feet in order to accommodate the turn lane.
What do you mean pulling it down?
We gotta move it to the south.
Shift.
Okay.
And there's no contemplation of just pulling it down now? I mean, why don't you just do it now?
That is exactly what I was saying. I can give you the 10 feet now. When the time comes to consider the right turn lane, I've
It's
already
all
accommodated
there.
that drawing. I've been working between 3 different propositions here, so some of
Right.
the stuff is kind of in arrears. I apologize for that.
I would almost feel better approving a plan that had that turn lane built into it.
Well, that won't be in their plan. Everything else are identical on the plans, except for basically the placement of the building.
Correct.
And when does that get determined?
Well, he has those plans done, that's just not what's before us.
Right, but then do we not approve these, but we need to have different plans that take that into consideration? I would feel better approving those plans than plans that then we've already approved and then have to be modified that much.
I understand where you're coming from, and I sympathize with you. The issue at hand is nothing that we can control from an engineering standpoint. And as much as I'd love to see that right turn lane there, I can't guarantee that it's going to appear there. So I can't give you those plans and say, this is what we're gonna build. My thought would be that you approve it, and if we do have to pull the buildings down for the right turn lane, we can get that approved administratively.
But what if you've already started building?
Yeah,
before
we're
that
hoping all
comes?
this comes to a head before we start digging holes in the ground.
Okay.
It's like any other relationship, there's a lot of give and take.
Right, yeah.
You just ask my wife.
But site relatedness, right? Everything's staying the same, right?
If we get the right turn lane, we have to pull everything down 10 feet.
Correct.
So, I
Well,
mean,
outside of the adjustment of 10 feet,
Yeah,
the site
well-
is,
well, it'll be the same thing, except we'll be losing 2 parking spaces, but we've got more than enough parking spaces to begin with, so it won't affect anything there.
So at that point, does this go to ZBA? Does this, what happens when the county makes a decision and includes that?
Well, that's what I said. If you approve it the way it sits right now, okay, the only thing that's gonna change if the right turn lane comes in is we're gonna lose 2 parking spaces, pull everything south. Actually, 3 parking spaces now that I think about it. But, if that can be approved administratively, then, if the only thing we're doing is losing 3 parking spaces and pulling everything down
Right.
10 feet, we haven't really changed anything significantly on the plan. 10 feet's a lot, but in terms of the general configuration, it'll be the same.
And I'm thinking through your time plan And if their time plan doesn't match yours, then what's happening?
Well,
So I think-
if they start construction and dig holes, they got the holes in the wrong place.
Well, that's just it. The way this is playing out, we need to have an answer before we get to the point of excavation. You know,
Yeah.
and that's where it's at. I don't know if these guys do, but I don't have an answer for when the
Right.
gas station's gonna say yes or no. So.
And there's always that possibility that the gas station does not go through.
Wow.
So then you wouldn't have a right turn lane there, and then the building would be exactly
drawn.
according to ordinance. And if they do get the holes in the ground, now it just becomes basically an existing nonconformity, like several other properties here in the village of Holly, where a road has been bigger than what it was,
Modified after construction.
so then it just creates an existing nonconformity.
Okay,
A lot of what-ifs.
right.
So in reality, from what you're saying then, on the drawings, your 30-foot setback, line really becomes 40-foot setback.
Out front?
Is that not what you're saying, is the building's gonna be pushed back to the south?
Well, the setback won't change because the right of way doesn't move. So we would be
Right, but
40
the-
feet away.
The movement will be 10 feet.
Right, the whole structure's coming back, well,
Right.
okay. I think if we approve it as they have drawn it,
You know, we could pull up the other drawing showing the right turn lane, so you can kind of see an example of what that's gonna look like.
I'm just gonna bring it up here so you guys can gather around and take a
Kind of compare it to,
Kind of walk through. Yes.
So we'll have the 10 feet with the right turn lane in place. And we lost 3 parking spaces by pushing this down.
right, so this, basically this right here is just all coming back.
Yep.
And everything that was gonna be behind here, you just got squished out.
yeah.
I'm trying to think of how to word that.
Why not have them just move the building back 10 feet, and then whatever happens in the future will move?
Yeah, couldn't you make the, like, just an example, an idea, not to say to do it this way, but couldn't you make it to approve it as presented with the ability to shift the building 10 feet should the gas station development move forward with the right turn lane? And being contingent on
So
that, because that way it allows the
So if you
flexibility.
break ground this fall, you're locked in,
Correct.
which is likely at this point.
I mean, we'd like to, you know, we've been waiting on the gas station guys long enough, and obviously we've been,
That's-
you know,
that's,
sympathetic to that, so.
You can't
right.
depend on that guy doing anything.
Correct, so we're trying our best to navigate it all.
That's a moot
Huh?
point, I
Just
think.
approved, this is a 7 feet. Are we allowed to change that?
Well, if we approve it to 7 feet, then you're sitting even closer, correct? If they put the turn lane in.
Yes.
So I would say that we need to try and do the 10-foot move, and then you've got that, it's just there. And it takes care of our need to remove or, give you a waiver, and puts us in place for future.
Yeah.
It's like
You know.
approved plans with this change.
Well, if he doesn't do the gas station, this gravel drive over here is going to have to be paved.
Mhm.
But that won't hurt.
That's-
Everything will still be good.
But I think we're okay with.
We're just losing 3 parking spaces.
Yes.
That's the only difference.
And you're more than double the number of spaces you need.
Yeah, 6 are required, we're at 27, we lose 3, we're at 24.
Right,
Yep,
so 3 times.
Yep.
Yeah. So, I'm gonna call on Corey to give guidance to that. Does that sound like something that we can do, is approve it with or require that they
Because you're in possession of it.
move it?
You can approve as amended.
Okay.
With that 10 feet movement, and I think that's the cleanest way to handle the situation.
Okay.
You don't have to come back.
Then you don't have
Just
to,
the
then you
administrative
don't have to
lady
go to ZBA, you don't
approve
have
it.
to come back to us, you don't have to get new plans approved, you don't, I mean, you know, it's pretty much ready to fly.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that, thank you.
Okay,
You can take your plans by yourself.
Does anybody else want to see this?
I got up and seen it. Thank you.
okay,
Anybody else want to look at it?
I'm making my notes. Okay,
Everybody seems to be happy.
that sounds workable?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. I'm thinking, let's think logic here, you know, what takes the least amount of work later? And if not, you got an extra space in the front, you know?
Well, you're thinking like an engineer, and I can appreciate that.
Well, thank you. So, I would be ready to do a motion, and kind of, here's some of the things that I've written down, okay, before I make the motion, that we will approve it with the amended plans, that the dumpster modifications are in place, and that the cross-access agreements are completed, and that we approve the light poles at 20 feet.
My only comment is to specify that the amended plan is the one that shifts everything down 10 feet.
Okay,
Just so that when we're looking back in the future at the minutes, it's clear which amended plan we were talking about.
okay,
Otherwise, that's everything on my list as well.
okay. And so if I make a motion and include those things, then we're pretty much,
Yes.
sounds pretty good?
Yep.
Okay. So I would like to make the motion then to approve, what's our location here? Our site plans
3518.
for 3518 Grange Hall Road, IH 0128427013, with the following items. That the plans will be amended for a 10-foot shift to the south. The dumpster modifications will be administratively reviewed, as well as the cross-access agreements, and that the light poles are approved for 20 feet.
I support.
Roll call, please.
Jim Clark?
Yes.
Lacy?
Yes.
Campbell?
Yes.
Ted Clark?
No.
DeSessa?
Yes.
Kinnaman?
Yes.
Okonski?
Yes. All right, now that I've lost all my paperwork.
Lost your what?
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. What'd you lose? Your agenda?
Yeah, there it is. It's like, you know, couldn't go far.
Yep.
Have a good night.
All right. Moving forward to the next item on new business. Item B, the 2022-012, consideration of special use permit for the property located at 304 South Broad Street, Holly, Michigan, IH 0134308006. Corey?
So there's quite a few outstanding issues that still remain, so I'll just go over my letter pretty quickly. The first is informational item number 4, seal of registered architect, civil engineer, or landscape architect. There does not appear to be any seal provided. However, this is something the planning commission can waive. The topographic information was also not provided, but again, this is something the planning commission can waive. Item number 12, it is our existing land uses and zoning classification of the subject parcels and adjacent parcels. It is more customary for the applicant to label the plot plan with this information. The applicant has provided the master plan's existing land use map. So it's up to you whether or not you think that's sufficient to meet that requirement. Informational item 13, all required minimum setbacks from the existing or proposed right-of-way and from adjacent lots. This information was provided on the aerial map. Informational item number 14, the location and dimensions of all existing and proposed structures on the subject property and all existing structures within 100 feet. The provided aerial map does show all structures within 100 feet, however, it does not include the dimensional information regarding the existing structure's height and dimensions. The Planning Commission may waive this since it's an existing structure. Item 18, proposed parking lots, including layout and typical dimensions of parking spaces and number of spaces provided. The number of parking spaces are noted in the cover letter, but not shown on the aerial map. In addition, dimensions should be provided to verify that they meet the village's minimum requirements. Informational item 20, proposed traffic and pedestrian circulation patterns. There's missing information regarding the sidewalk entrance and clear location of the 2 barrier-free parking spaces that were mentioned in the cover letter. Item 23 was addressed. 24, the location and specifications for any existing or proposed outdoor or below-ground storage facilities. It would appear this is proposed in the open space in the U portion of the building, which should be labeled on the plot plan. In addition, it is unclear if there is any existing screening for the private deck. Item 27 was addressed. Item 41, there does not appear to be any landscaping proposed. If landscaping were to be required to screen the proposed outdoor deck for eating, additional information would be required. So that's it in terms of informational items. Moving on to zoning compliance. Section 130B31, short-term rentals. There's some specific requirements specifically for short-term rentals. They don't appear to be compliant with E. There is a density restriction for the number of occupants per unit. Compliance cannot be determined until the desired number of occupants is confirmed. The ratio is 100 square feet per 2 lodgers and 50 square feet for an additional lodger. F was addressed. H, sufficient landscape screening is required for the proposed deck, outdoor eating area. It would appear to be in the U portion of the building, which would screen all 3 sides by the building. The Planning Commission will need to determine if the existing screening is sufficient. K, a reference guide is required on site for guests. The proposed guidebook is provided, but unclear where it will be in each unit. I, the local contact information should be posted in the sleeping unit and exit. Missing information, there's missing information, so compliance cannot be determined. M, a 10-pound ABC fire extinguisher is required in the kitchen area. Due to missing information, we cannot verify that this will be the case. And smoke detectors or fire alarms are required in each of the sleeping units. It is stated in the guidebook, but compliance cannot be determined on the floor plans. Moving on to parking units and measurement, the provided aerial map does not clarify the existing size of parking spaces and the maneuvering lane. To clarify the 12 existing spaces will meet those requirements. Barrier-free parking. In the cover letter, the 2 barrier-free parking spaces proposed exceeds the minimum requirement of 1 space. The aerial map does not show dimensions nor the location of the barrier-free spaces. And lastly, upstream parking space layout. Due to missing information, compliance cannot be determined for the minimum parking space and maneuvering lane size requirements. So that's for the site plan informational requirements and zoning compliance. And then for the special land use, I did provide an analysis that's attached to the back of your letter. I'm going over each standard. It's the opinion of Roe that these missing informational pieces should be provided before moving forward with this application. Are there any questions for me?
Yeah, this seems like a little more than normal. I mean, each one might be fairly small, but
They are fairly small, but when they add up, I think in order to make an informed decision, you're going to need all those pieces of information. Even if it's just putting where that fire extinguisher is on the plan or et cetera, you still need those details, and there's still quite a few missing pieces.
and we can ask the applicant, of course, but do you happen to know, is there some urgency? Why is this here before us now?
I have no idea.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Would the applicant like to speak?
Jenna Davis, 957 River Rock Drive, Holly, Michigan, 48442.
Yeah, we have the packages that we turned in that pretty much showed the layout of the parking lot, where the fire extinguishers are gonna be, and
So is that what we would consider updated information? Or,
There's a page that's labeled parking. It's an existing parking lot. There will be 8 paved spaces, including the 2 handicap accessible spaces that will have a shared exit lane. Each parking space is 9 by 20. It also has 12.5 feet behind each parking space for that turnaround drive behind area. This, like I said, this is a existing parking lot. We're not adding anything. It'll just be repaved. So they'll have 8 spaces paved, and then off to the, I believe it's the north side of the lot, there's gravel there, which would be additional parking, which we would know beforehand before anybody parks there, which we can accommodate 3 to 4 additional vehicles.
So if you guys went through your packet, you did receive this package right here. This is your newest and updated information. I'm not sure if Corey has seen this packet. I thought it was sent over to him, but I believe all the items that were on here are addressed in this packet. So if you go through here, you can also see that the picture that does show the parking lot there. Each floor plan with the dimensions that meet the criteria, and she also breaks it down in paragraph, or item number 6. This page right here also breaks down her parking spots, which meet the ordinance that is provided.
As well as the smoke alarms and CO2 alarms. Fire extinguishers are on the floor plan.
so I have maybe one question for Mr. Watson on the smoke detectors. Now, I know in our other Airbnb ordinance, it talks about multiple floors.
Correct.
Having to have intercommunicating detectors.
In this scenario, they
This
would
is-
all have to talk.
This would be the same scenario that they would all have to communicate with one another.
Each room would be a floor. So they would all have to
Okay.
communicate, so if unit A was on fire, B and C or 2 and 3
Would also get the alert.
notification.
Okay,
And we would also get notifications through phones.
sure.
You know, text.
Also, you know,
Yeah.
in the zoning compliance where it says section 130B31, items K through N are all part of my inspection checklist when I go through each one of those units. So they are addressed on the site plan as you see them now on the amended versions, but that is also one of my requirements when I go through, is that I check to make sure the registry, the smoke alarms, the extinguishers are all up to date. The extinguishers have to be serviced every year too, annually by a company. So, you know, the planning commission can approve it today, but in 20 years now, if they don't get those extinguishers annually recharged, it could cause complications. So that's why we perform these checklists and these inspections, is to verify that those items are still in compliance.
So I'm assuming what you did with this new packet is you took this and answered the question.
I went through it 3 times.
Okay, good, yeah.
The only
Now, I noticed also that they keep on talking about a
is the
deck.
screening
In
for
the
patio.
U,
Oh, yeah.
all I seen was the pergola.
Yes, so originally, like way back when we started this, our dream plan was to put a deck on the north side next to the railroad, have a deck off of that unit. That is not happening. If it does end up happening, it's gonna be a future plan. We'll reiterate it at that time. No deck.
No deck,
There's
no
no
decking.
deck. So yes, the pergola would be over inside of that U shape. It's stamped concrete, patio, and a pergola for shade. It's only gonna add bonus to the curb appeal. So no deck, no siding, no fences.
Is there a requirement to put any sort of blockage or screening with that?
I don't believe so.
Only if it's considered an eating area, is what I thought the ordinance stated.
Real quick, I can confirm that everything on the zoning compliance has been addressed with this revised materials.
Good.
And then everything else, the informational items, is really up to the planning commission, but most of that stuff you can waive. And then I'll look into the question you asked.
So it's not gonna have like a picnic table or anything out there. It's gonna be more of a gathering place.
Right.
Seating.
Like a hangout more.
Yeah, they
Right.
want to go out and have a cigarette outside.
Yeah.
Yeah, or you know,
Basically.
sit outside when it's nice out. You know. We're gonna
Have your beer and
lights.
chips,
Yes.
which suddenly becomes eating.
Trains go by.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, So we have the seal.
And I do like the draft that you did make up for the emergency information and the house rules and a few good things to know. And they will, I mean, Jeremy will see where they're gonna be placed.
Usually on the back of the doors,
Okay. That's usually where I've always seen,
like if you were in a hotel room.
yes.
The screening is just for eating. If they're going to be using the deck for eating.
Well, it's not gonna be a deck.
Sorry. Patio.
Do you think it would help if that was a little more private because it's on the public side of the road? If you put,
We're gonna look at it next year, see how things are, and then,
Originally, again, in the dream process of this, we were talking about putting up like a half wall in between the parking lot and the building,
right,
but that, like, again, future dream. Because there was a drawing, you know, speculations and stuff, but we gotta get the first steps done
Right.
first, and then we
Right.
can
Come and
add
revisit.
structures and, adapt.
so are you gonna put that stamped concrete and the pergola in at this point?
Hopefully before spring, that would, yes,
well,
we want to.
probably right around spring with that.
So, yeah. But yes, we would like to move forward with the patio part and take out all the,
How high does, Corey, how high does a barricade need to be for that?
Let me check.
I think it's gray. I don't think the ordinance spells out a height for screening. I think it would just go back to a buffer zone, which you would go into the definition. I mean, an arborvitae can start out at 2 feet, but over 10 years, it's gonna be, 10
Right,
feet.
right.
If it's vegetated.
I'm just thinking, because you don't want 10-foot arborvitae in front of there like that.
No.
But, you know, something that's, 3 or 4 feet, at least, if you're sitting down in there, people aren't driving by on the road looking at you like this, Gives you a
It's
little more
behind the
privacy.
parking lot too, so if they're parked there,
Yeah,
they'd have to look past the cars to even see into the patio. Where driving by, you'd be able to see the pergola and any lighting or hanging plants and
Sure.
yada yada, but, I mean, sitting down, I don't think it's gonna be like a huge privacy issue at this point. Without sitting down outside myself, I don't.
yeah.
And I think another important feature that hasn't been discussed, what I think was discussed with me privately, was that this is going to be one of the only short-term rentals in the community that is ADA accessible,
Right. Yeah.
which is important in my eyes, but I think they don't pitch that enough. And I think it's
Right.
important that
Yeah.
the Planning Commission tonight knows that, as you know, when you created the ordinance, only in the CBD were they located on the second floor. So obviously, it makes them extremely difficult to become ADA compliant once we make it an ordinance where they can only be located on the second floor. So with this one being so close to the downtown and still being on the first floor in a different zone and allowing the ADA to still be able to have the amenities of the downtown district like they would if they were in Battle Alley on the second floor. I think that's important.
Yeah, because if there's a wheelchair accessible, because you can go down the sidewalk, even over the railroad tracks, and just,
Still be
I would
part of
say,
the town.
tootle around town with the wheelchair or whatever. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I think this is a great plan,
Mhm.
I just wanted to make sure we've covered all of our bases as we do this. Just like we did with the last one, let's cover it now, then go, oh, we should have.
I would agree that the entry is accessible. Are the bathrooms going to be accessible? I don't see any detail or anything that makes me comfortable with
Yeah, 2 out of
ADA accessible
2 out of
bathrooms.
3 units will be ADA accessible with wheelchair access.
You're telling me that, but we don't have it on paper.
Right now, we're in like demo mode, where we have to get everything up to code as it is right now. But the bathrooms as they stand, the 2 larger units have ample space for a 3x3 turnaround, which is wheelchair.
I think you need 5 by 5.
That's for commercial.
Oh, it's commercial? 3 by 3 is awfully tight to spin a wheelchair.
Agreed.
There's no 3x3 room though. These are 5x8 or even larger. And we're gonna do all tiled floors with a drain, so there's not gonna be any shower pan. So everything will be movable as far as the shower goes. We're gonna have
Full
bars and
access
everything.
rather than
Oh,
a
yeah,
lip.
yep. And 2 out of 3. The other one's pretty tight. But yeah, we're gonna expand it as much as possible, but as it stands right now, being a previous commercial building, those 2 bathrooms are accessible.
If I may back to the screening question, all it states is that sufficient landscaping shall be used to screen adjacent residences from parking areas or any outdoor heating area. So it doesn't list a height, that's the planning commission's determination. Normal screening in other districts, so it's to be between 5 and 6 feet.
I would think just put
Yeah,
a couple
that's awfully high.
Half,
yeah,
that's what we were thinking,
Couple
half
of
wall for the beginning.
either a half wall or just some bushes, that are,
Like right in front of the parking lot.
mhm. So what things do we need to waive?
Architectural seal.
Seal, landscaping? Because for the most part, it's an interior job, except for this pergola and thing on the outside.
Well, with this building, it would be nice if it looks better than it has.
Right, yeah. Yeah.
That's always a goal.
Well, their
Right.
pencil sketch looks nice, you know, some improvements to the facade a little bit.
A little updating.
Yeah.
The listing things, dimensions of neighboring structures within 100 feet can be waived. And that should address everything. Everything else is provided.
So just the seal, the landscaping, and the dimensions of neighboring structures. And everything else has been addressed, we're saying? Okay.
And you need to refer to the revised plans.
Okay. So do we feel ready? Okay. I'll make the motion then to approve the site plan for 304
Approve the special land use.
South Broad Street for special land use. Item number IH0134308006 with the following modifications or revisions.
Items to be waived.
Huh?
Items to be waived.
Items to be waived. First of all, subject to the revised plans. And subject to waiving of the seal requirement, the landscaping requirement, and the dimensions of neighboring structures requirement.
I'll second.
Roll call, please.
Lacy,
Yes.
DeSessa,
Yes.
Ted Clark,
Yes.
Campbell,
Yes.
Jim Clark,
No,
Kitteman,
Yes.
Okonsky.
No.
What was our numbers?
Hmm?
What was our numbers?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
It passed.
Okay. I usually hear you say that.
No, you're passed. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Moving on to item 10, training, which there's nothing on the list. Reports, anything from ZBA and DDA?
We haven't met lately.
No
I think we
meetings?
meet next month, though. We meet like.
Yep, we meet in November.
November, yeah. Woo. I'm
All
excited.
right.
DDA, just to say we have ladies night out on the 4th. Well, ladies weekend starts on the 4th.
Yep. Ladies' weekend,
4th through the 6th.
which
Okay.
is also first Friday.
Friday.
It's a dual purpose there.
All right, council?
Nothing special at the moment.
Okay. Nothing on the parks?
Parks has Halloween this Saturday.
And I think there was a new play structure approved, if I'm not mistaken, maybe?
Yeah, well, that was approved in council to purchase that, to go ahead with that purchase. That is part of ARPA funds, to put that in. It'll go at Lakeside Park. The drawings look really nice. It's a,
Replaces the one that's damaged now, correct?
yep.
Okay. Moving on to commissioner and staff comments. Mr. Ted Clark.
Yeah, my comment is, and you're gonna have to educate me a little bit, but the site that you approved for the marijuana facility, was that the zoning commission that did that? I mean, was that the focal place of the Village of Holly, where traffic backs up at Grange Hall and Saginaw? That's gonna be the image of Holly, is a marijuana house. And not the Dickens Festival, not the downtown, that we had to put it, well, why did it have to go there?
That's the piece of property that was brought before the council.
The council approved it.
And that was the,
The village council.
yes, that was the selection.
And everybody's back up for reelection on that, right?
Sure.
Only half the council.
No, it's just, listen, I just don't think it's good for the village. And a lot of people agree with that.
Yeah.
My turn.
If he's done. Are you done, Mr. Techler?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Mr. Jim
Well,
Clark.
I'd just like to say I was very happy that Jerry Walker was here last time for two reasons. One, I look forward to significant public input and the planning commission being involved in a capital improvement plan at some point in the future. And also, even though Jerry kind of cherry-picked my comments a bit to the village council, I was very pleased that he contacted Springfield Township and verified what they pay for police services.
Good.
That's it.
Thank you. Richard.
I'm actually going to tag on to your capital improvements. I had said I would do research, and it is actually in our code book that we do have that.
So we have an exemption, is that what you're talking about?
We do not have an exemption.
Okay.
State law requires it.
That we will do this. And so what I think I would like to ask is that a discussion be placed on the agenda for next month as to formulating a plan to have this carried out beginning probably in the first part of the year.
Is the council going to do that, or you want us to do that?
It says we do that.
Mr. Kinnaman, could you please read the ordinance so everybody is
Sure.
educated on it?
I'll read the wording here.
And the ordinance number, please.
Okay, ordinance number 152.12, Capital Improvements Program. To further the desirable future development of the village under the master plan, the Village Planning Commission, after the master plan is adopted, shall prepare or cause to be prepared a capital improvements program of public structures and improvements, showing those structures and improvements in general order of their property for the following 6-year period. The proposed capital improvements program shall then be subject to final approval by the village council. So it
There
is,
should be significant public input also, not just the planning commission and the village council.
okay,
This is our community.
I understand that, and that's, I would like this to go on the agenda for the next meeting for us to begin discussion on how that whole process will look.
I've got no problem with that.
That's what I would like us to do. That actually begins to make this happen. And I think, that's a good start. And it
And what
may
the
take
amendment-
us 6-8 months. Public input, I think, is a wise thing. Input from staff. It is our task to make that happen. And I'm sure we'll need to be consulting with Roe on the process to make that happen, which will probably include public hearings and all of those kinds of things as well. So I think that this gives a month for that kind of information to come back to us to begin to formulate a plan. And then we will, that agenda item is to look at a plan next month.
For my clarity, is there anything specifically at this time you need from me, like a memo outlining the process or my suggestions or anything like that?
I would like to hear
Yeah, that'd
that.
be nice, yeah.
And, yeah, well, I don't know if we could ask Mr. Watson to be in contact with you on what, how you've handled those in other communities, you know, what the process begins to look like, realizing that we have not done one
Okay.
for,
I think really it'd be based on education.
Okay.
yep, so,
Educating us all
to be
on-
able to bring us a presentation next month might be nice
Sure.
on the process so that we can talk that through.
Yeah, I'll put something together.
Okay?
Lori?
I don't have anything, thank you.
Yeah, I'd just like to add, I think the timing of this is just great with the election around the corner, some new fresh blood, faces, administration, some change there. Why not get this process started now? I totally agree. That's it for me.
Ms. Campbell?
The only thing I can think of to talk about is I went to Witches Night. It was fun. Good weather. A lot of witches. I didn't get second place for the hat contest, but I think it was rigged.
Well, the witches are performing for Halloween,
Yeah.
too.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
you know, well, I don't do the dance thing yet, so I'm working on it. I'm working on
I
it.
think
but
there's 150 people on the Facebook site for the Holly Witches.
wow, that's pretty cool.
All right, from myself, I guess. I see they poured concrete there on,
16
yeah, it's, still moving very slowly, but it's some movement. Taco Bell looks like they're moving along.
Yep, they're actually the ones that are going in front of the zoning board of appeals for their monument sign out front.
Okay,
So we'll have an update for you next month on the results of that.
okay. In regards to capital improvements, so that everybody, you know, obviously is, I know they're aware, but they need to be, I guess, just brought back up to the front. When we proceed with this, I think it's a great idea because we've not done it. Speaking from past experience, when we have done it, it ended up being a waste of time because it was never approved for capital expenditures. So, in the past, when we did it, we did not come up with some ideas and try to get some budgetary numbers for the ideas to move forward. We just kind of left that up to council that, you know, they would move forward in that. So I think before we would recommend or present anything, we should do some legwork to get some budgetary numbers to kind of find out whether it is pie in the sky or not.
Well, with what you're saying, if there's no money available, so we cancel the whole project? Is that what you're
It's
saying?
not-
We can't dream or think about new things that the
I am-
community has not had?
I am not saying that. All I'm saying is for everybody to be aware of putting in the work of the vision and then not being felt like they were jilted when nothing happens from it.
One of the things to know from this, this is also, correct me if I'm wrong, one of the requirements for the RRC
And the CLG.
and the CLG. So
I've been begging for this process for a couple of years now.
those two things also open us up for grant funds and other things that can help fund some of those things once it's there. So I understand what you're saying, that you know, we are sitting with, you know, a zero-sum balance, basically, you know, budget. And we're not sitting here going, okay, where can we spend $10 billion like the state is thinking about? We've got, you know, we have to, but if you don't have a plan, like Mr. Clark's talking about. If you don't have a plan, you know, if you aim at nothing, you hit it every time. And so I think it's a wise thing to begin the process. Just being cognizant of the fact that there are constraints on how it can happen, but it gives you something. I've talked about this with parks for a long time. You know, that everybody keeps talking about the parks need this and the parks need that, and why is there no money for parks? But the parks has never come before the council saying, we want this, and we want this, and we want this, and this is the long-term, you know, that we're looking at, and these are the rough costs to it, basically doing this same kind of thing. And then the council can take the time to go, okay, maybe we can't work all of that in, or we can't work all of this project in this budget, but we can put part of it in this one and part of it in the next year, and you can begin to plan the process.
And that's what this plan's all about, is prioritizing these
Right,
projects.
it's helping create a prioritized plan to make things happen. And that's where we need to be headed.
Good.
So,
I agree. I have nothing else, staff?
Nope.
I would like to say that Jeremy Watson was awarded firefighter of the year.
Oh,
Well deserved,
For the Village of Holly?
yes.
We're working on the state of Michigan.
that
We only
came,
have one Jeremy,
I'm
okay?
kidding you.
that came through the American Legion, their annual awards, and that's a very nice thing to recognize.
absolutely.
Somebody
Lee
has put in a
Mitchell,
lot of work.
Lee Mitchell for Holly PD, and then I forget the school, but there was also a teacher awarded last night, I forget.
Rose Pioneer, Ryan
Thank you.
Snodsmith, because I saw the post.
And we have 47 on our roster.
Congratulations.
Thank you,
Yes.
much appreciated.
Well deserved.
They did start the cleanup downtown, I guess I can add that,
Yay.
of the arcade. So if you've been down there.
And if you
tomorrow
took
it's
the
gonna-
light poles, bring them
Bring
back.
them back, yeah.
All right,
Polite polls?
moving on to
They
item
disappeared.
Item 13, public comment at the end of the meeting. If there's anybody who would like to come forward and speak publicly about anything, please do so. Seeing no one move forward, I call adjourned.
Thank you.